Welcome, Degens, far and wide, to another edition of the Degen Docs. What is up, folks? We're talking about NFL Week 10 preview. That's right. We're looking at NFL Week 10, looking ahead, but don't worry. We've got Monday Night Football best bets coming up. We're going to give you through injury rundown, expert injury analysis, all the latest and greatest, biggest news that we got coming on. Of course, Monday Night Football best bets preview. We've got our Warriors and Wussies. We've got our waiver wire targets and our early line locks. Coming off from 4-0 lock week by myself last week. You're not going to want to miss this, folks. So without further ado, this NFL Week 10 preview and picks edition of the Degen Docs on the Sports Game Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code SGPNDOC to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamepodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, folks. I am one of your hosts here, the OG Degen Doc himself. But more importantly, I'm joined by my co-host, my brother in degeneracy, Mr. Derek Bennett, a.k.a. Professor Locks. How we doing tonight, brother?
I am unwell, dude. It was a rough week, rough weekend. You know, with the locks going very well the last two weekends. This past weekend was a bit of a shitty weekend. We'll just put it that way. And on top of that, I've got some sort of throat kind of thing going. So instead of my typical bourbon, I'm going with a nice resting witch face brew of some hot tea.
Please tell me it's a hottie toddy at least, though. Please tell me you're not. Are you completely sober?
I am heavily medicated.
There you go. I like it. One way or another, you get it in, brother. Hey, look, right. We are coming off. We're gonna have two different vibes a little bit. Look, Derek, like he was saying, was carrying the locks past couple weeks, and now it's time for good old Degen Doc to shine here. But
he popped up with a pretty good weekend. It sounds like.
Before we talk about that, let me not be rude to our audience. Let's not be rude here. First of all, let's get the chat popping. But cheers, folks. We appreciate you joining us here at the Degen Docs. Thank you for being awesome. All right, now we can officially start the show. But coming off a 4-0 week of the locks, baby, can't feel much better than that. So when we get to our bitching hour here soon, I'm not going to have a lot to say. Was able to take care of business. I gave out 4. Obviously, it was the week to be on the favorites. I 13. I think they went 13-1. Only one lost outright. And I gave out a ton of short favorites. We had Detroit. I mean, Jordan Love on one leg. What can I say? I told you about it all week. If they had Malik Willis in the game, I would be much more hesitant to take the Detroit Lions. But
completely agree. Completely
Jordan
agree.
Love sucks.
Yeah.
He's
completely agree. And like you said, you took a lot of short favorites, and sadly, I took a couple of a little bit longer favorites, and
the only favorites that did not cover your Bills and the Saints. I mean, hey, speaking of the Saints, why don't we just go ahead and get right into it, folks? Look, like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot more assisting than actually being the one bitching. But welcome to the official Degen Docs Red Zone Bitching Hour. My friend, why don't you open it up for us here? And there's someone who you could throw in the locker who they have to clean out their locker this week.
Yeah, so a couple of things with the Saints. At this point, Dennis Allen is on his way out of the building. His locker has been cleaned out. His office has been cleaned out for the second time with assistance by Derek Carr. And, I think the only team that for sure is more of a dumpster fire that's probably the entire wasteland is the Carolina Panthers, who ended up pulling out a victory over the New Orleans Saints yesterday somehow. So with that being said, did not do well in that one. The Bills over the last few years have really dominated the Dolphins, and for whatever reason, it seemed like they just played very conservatively on defense yesterday. They definitely held Waddle and Taysom Hill for the most part to very average games or below average games probably to their points. But Achane just ran wild. Through
Him and
the game,
Mostert really
8
got
catches
going.
and a touchdown. He rushed for a touchdown. Mostert got his. And really for most of the part or most of the afternoon, they were kind of going back and forth. They got to the third quarter, took a little bit of a lead, and let Miami get into that one or get back into that one. Bass came in and kicked that game-winning field goal. But at that point, I was hoping, it was going to overtime and the Bills would drive down and punch it in and still be able to cover that. Didn't happen. And then the Patriots, again, giving up a lot more than what I expected against the Tennessee Titans. The Titans, again, kind of a dumpster fire, as well as the Patriots, I guess. But offensively, the Titans have nothing other than Tony Pollard at this point. Like, Tony Pollard is the Titans offense. And for whatever reason, the Patriots could not stop him yesterday. I think he rushed for like 120.
You got one fucking job, Patriots.
Exactly. And the Patriots have gone ahead and helped the Kansas City Chiefs out even more by trading linebacker Uche, whatever, however you say his name.
Joshua Uche, Michigan man.
Yeah, Josh Uche. I don't know how AFC teams just continue to help the Chiefs out. The Titans trade him D-Hop last week. They pick up a linebacker this week from the Patriots. I just don't get it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's because they're at the dumpster, man. They're just trying to get whatever they can. Desperate teams call for desperate measures. I will say Drake May looks pretty good. He cashed a couple bets for us a couple weeks ago. So Drake May, man, he's looking good. So if you are a New England Patriots fan, I would be optimistic there. Much more optimistic than myself in my Giants quarterback situation.
Yeah.
All right, folks.
Hey, before we move on, going back to the Saints now open head coaching job. Besides the Panthers, because like I said, they're probably by far the worst organization in the NFL. Is there another worse job out there as far as NFL head coaching positions that could be open? You know what I mean?
The Panthers.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the Saints have a decent fan base. They have a decent city. Like, I don't know if New Orleans, like, if
based on that roster, like.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, Shaheed being out hurts. If Olave is going to miss some time, we'll talk about him with the concussions coming up. But I mean, Paulson Adebo, Marshawn Lattimore hurt. Like, I guess the guys on the team right now, it's assuming those guys on the IR.
I mean, Cam Jordan wanted to just, walk out of the stadium. He didn't even want to go to the locker room.
Look, I mean, it's not a pretty situation. I mean, obviously, I'm thinking of like my Giants and their roster, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to inherit that, especially with the quarterback. So, look. Yeah. It's not definitely won't. We'll see. They'll keep it in house, and then it's a good city. I think that's a decent job. I think you get Carr out of there and you get some fresh blood. I mean, I don't think there's anyone on the roster. I mean, maybe Jake Haener, but Rattler looked really bad. So right. I got to do definitely some rebuilding there. But we'll see if they, there's big talks about Marshawn Lattimore getting traded. I know he's injured right now with a hamstring, but it could be like Devontae Adams' hamstring. It just magically appears when he gets a nice check from the team. All right, we're going to move on, folks. We got a lot to get to tonight. We got a game kicking off in 30 minutes, so we need to cash on. Before we do, you've got about 1 or 2 minutes, folks. If you got something to bitch about, throw somebody in the locker, drop a comment right now. Get it out. Because what I'm going to tell you about is not only did I have a great 4-0 lock weekend, but, man, let me tell you, I had a great time. I was telling y'all on Thursday, I went on over and I watched some Army football, baby. Some motherfucking Army football. Got to travel to West Point. Super, super sick. Look, if you haven't been to West Point, first of all, it looks like fucking Hogwarts. All right. It's pretty dope. It was a nice fall day. You had all the leaves changing colors, the sun. You got the Hudson River right there. You got people telling me, this is where George Washington crossed and he fought the redcoats. And dude, it was sick. I mean, obviously, being a military man, it was cool to get over there, but anybody, if you are appreciative of anything America, really at all, I encourage you to go check out West Point. Go check out a game. Watch them kick the shit out of Air Force. Was sad Bryson Daly got ruled out as I was about 6 beers deep in the parking lot, in the grass lot down about maybe a mile, less than a mile from the stadium. Got that news. That was not fun. Not good tailgate news, but 20-3, can't complain. Awesome game there. Support your local football, folks. definitely get out there, go to a game if you have not. All right, folks, before we get on to this, let's tell you about some of the things we got going on here at SGPN. College basketball is back. That's right, it's tip-off night tonight. If you aren't already subscribed to the College Experience for their daily picks podcast, breaking it all down, go ahead and subscribe to them. Again, daily. They've got a shit ton of picks over there, and they're giving them out all the time. Those guys work harder than anybody else, so throw them a like, throw them a follow, subscribe those dudes. And then to you folks, second cheers of the show, only 10 minutes in. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to the Degen Docs. If you can head on over to Spotify and give us a 5-star rating and review, only you can prevent corporate gambling from taking over. Cheers to you. All right, enough of that nonsense. Let's make some money. So we are going to head on over to Monday Night Football. And I think you are going to go ahead and why don't you set us up? We'll do a little switcheroo.
Let's do it.
Switcheroo here, and you're going to set us up, and then I'll lead with the bets, and you'll go from there.
Yeah, so let me just double check and make sure our lines that are on the screen are still up to date, and it looks like they are. The Bucks are still underdogs by 9 points at Kansas City. The total still sits at 45.5. You can get the Bucks on the money line at plus 330, and the Chiefs at minus 425. Look at that, got it right even 30 minutes earlier. But a few guys to note that could be or that are out tonight, mostly in the wide receiver room on both sides of the ball. Jalen McMillan, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin will all be out for the Bucks. Servassier Dennis still dealing with that shoulder injury. He may end up missing most of the year. Jamel Dean as well in the defensive backfield. And then on the Chiefs side, Juju's still sitting out. Hollywood, Rashee Rice, and Sky Moore are all out tonight. So it should lead into a good D-Hop night, maybe Worthy as well. And then they do have some other guys that are not nearly as big of names, but Mike Dana, Jalen Watson, Nazeeh Johnson, all in the defensive backfield. And then running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be out again tonight.
There you go. All right. Yeah, look, this is how
what do you think about this game? How do you really see this thing going?
Yeah, this is how I see this game going down. First off, I think there's going to be points. Now, I had to do a little bit of a weather check. I'm sure you're seeing right now that it was raining or whatever over in Kansas City. Doing a little recon on the weather. It looks like it's going to be a little bit on and off. Looks like most of it was a write-up pregame, kind of that 6 to 7 o'clock hour. So I think that was when the heaviest rain was supposed to be. It's only supposed to be some light rain scattered in. So I think the weather's getting overblown a little bit. People love to overreact to weather. The wind is not too windy. You know, as much as rain can bother it, it's not going to be like the Detroit Green Bay game. It's going to be a lot better conditions there. So I actually like the over 46. It's at 45.5 with a little bit of juice to the over. I don't mind going 46 at minus 107 there. So I'm on the over tonight. I also, with the over, I mean, it kind of leads into, I think there's going to be some points scored. Obviously, I think there's going to be some yards, right? I think both these passing games are going to be able to get loose a little bit here on both sides of the ball. So let's look at this for a second here. I mean, the Bucks, funny enough, are a super fucking balanced team. Not only are they 4-4 coming in the year, but their pass defense and pass offense, right? Pass defense letting up about 255 yards a game. Pass offense going for about 255 yards a game. And then their rush defense giving up about 131 yards on the ground. And their rush offense is gaining about 131 yards on the ground. So not only are they a good offense where they're moving up and down the field, but they're not a very good defense because they're just letting everybody else moving up on the field with them. So about as balanced as you can fucking be as a 4-4 team here. And then on the Chiefs side of the ball, their pass defense, you know, their rush defense is really good. Their pass defense is still good, but Jalen Watson and Nazeeh Johnson are both out. Both kind of play that nickel position down as that third safety there or kind of third corner. I think that's going to lend to, I know that, hey, the Bucks have some wide receiver issues, but Baker's been able to throw the ball. I mean, when we look at the quarterback stats right now, if I told you one quarterback had 8 touchdowns for 9 interceptions and the other quarterback had 21 touchdowns for 9 interceptions, which one would you think is on the 7-0 team? You got to think
4 touchdowns.
You're right. The one with 21
You think,
touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That's
but it's
Baker's stat
not.
line right now.
Yeah.
Mahomes is only 8 touchdowns for 9 interceptions. So that leads me to the first one. Mahomes over a half an interception at plus 100. He's got more interceptions than touchdown this year, although he's like second in the MVP odds right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know how the fuck you figure that one out. Look, but don't worry, I am not full fading Patrick Mahomes in any way. I just think he's going to chuck the ball a lot today, and I think one of them is going to wind up in the other team's hands. But I'm going to go with Mahomes over 265.5 pass yards at plus, what is that, 125 there. I'm also going to come back with Baker over 255.5 pass yards at plus 135. Like I talked about, both these pass defenses, the Bucs are missing their best quarterback in Jamel Dean. They're already a bad pass defense. They're already giving up about 255 yards a game. So I think Mahomes to get 10, 11 more yards, I think that's very doable. And on the Chiefs side, yeah, they have a great pass defense, but 2 players at the same position are out today. I think that means a difference. And I think the Bucs are likely trailing in this game. They're 9-point underdogs. I think they have to throw, and Baker's been able to throw it all over the yard. We saw in that Baltimore game, even though they were getting their shit kicked in, they came back, had a little bit of comeback, and he threw for over 300 yards. So I think we might see a similar game script there. I also like Baker Mayfield rushing over 20.5 rushing yards at plus 140. He's a guy who likes to run in prime time. They're giving up about 2.5 sacks a game. He's had to take some pressure. This offensive line, again, I think they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. It's going to lead to some rushing opportunities. I think that you can run as a quarterback on the Chiefs. So I like Baker over 20.5. I also like his ladder up to 40 yards there. And then on the touchdown market, Bucky Irving, anytime touchdown, plus 220. I think this is, you're telling me in a game where I think there's going to be a decent amount of points, the team's RB1. He's leading the team in rushing touchdowns. He's also got one through the air. Bucky Irving at plus 220. I like that. I mean, a lot of the Chiefs' anytime touchdown prices are so juiced right now. And I understand, yes, I think the Chiefs are going to score, but I also think the Bucs are going to score, which is why I'm also going to sprinkle Sean Tucker at 8-1 anytime touchdown, a guy who they say they want to get involved more. It's a little bit of a fade of Rachaad White. They said they're going to go with the hot hand, and there's not been many times this season that Rachaad White has been the hot hand. And then my ladder of the day, Xavier Worthy. I think Xavier Worthy is going to have 1 or 2 deep shots where he just has, some 75, 70-yard bombs. Like, I think Xavier Worthy is able to run wild on this porous Bucs secondary. I mean, it goes right in with my Patrick Mahomes over on his passing yard. I really do like Xavier Worthy. I'm laddering him all the way up to 90 yards at a nice, juicy 10-1. So, look, folks, I think the points are going to be flying tonight. I think the ball is going to be going all over the yard. And I think Bucky Irving, Tucker, and Worthy find the end zone. What about you, my friend? What are you on for this Monday Night Football matchup?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of what you're saying is pretty good. I did take Patrick Mahomes over 242 at the time. Earlier on in the weekend, that was one of my locks for the week. So I'm still on Patrick Mahomes. I'm probably going to run his ladder up close to 300 yards just because, like you said, the Bucs passing defense has some holes in it. And even though the Kansas City is missing a bunch of wide receivers, I think they have still a variety of guys that can make some things happen, whether it's Travis Kelce, D-Hop, one of those guys, or one of those big toys, but other guys like McCole Hardman, Xavier Worthy, some of those speedsters can still break loose and get some yards that way. I do think the Chiefs and the Bucs will put up some points. So I would be on the over as well. I don't know if I would necessarily have to pick a side here, but a few things that I am on. I'm going K-Dot and under. I think the Bucs have used him a lot over the last couple of weeks, and the Chiefs defense is just pretty solid in general. So especially kind of their front seven, I really think they'll be able to lock him down and kind of force Baker to use some of those other wide receiver options, which kind of leads me into a couple of first touchdown plays that I like for tonight. One being Trey Palmer at 20-1. And then I did end up going with McCole Hardman at 35-1, mostly just because I think it is a pretty good price with a lot of those wide receivers being out. And like you said, I think there is going to be some points here. Travis Kelce, D-Hop, Kareem Hunt, their numbers were just a little too pricey for me. So I went with McCole Hardman to get that first touchdown at 35-1.
There you go. Getting a nice little first touchdown mark. You're getting nice and juicy. What a way to start off this week here. But look, folks, hey, we are not buying into this being a weather game. I think it's getting a little bit blown out of proportion. So we think the ball is going to fly around the yard a little bit tonight. So that game kicking off in just about 20 minutes here. So let's go ahead and move forward to NFL Week 10 now. And let's do what we love to do here. Let's talk injuries. We're going through the NFL Week 10 injury rundown, and we got a ton of big ones. Of course, as always, we're going to be going through this. We're going to be getting in depth on these injuries, what we project their outlook for the week. If you have specific questions on specific guys, drop them in the chat now to make sure that we talk about them. All right, let's kick it off with quarterback Dak Prescott. Dealing with a hamstring injury. Look, if you've been watching this show at all, you know hamstring injuries, number one most burdensome injury in the NFL, especially during the season. They're never good, but especially when they're worse than initially feared, which is the case with Dak Prescott. Likely a grade 2 injury, typically a 4 to 6 week recovery timeline. Sounds like the IR might even be possible. What are we thinking with Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowgirls there?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up putting him on the IR at all, really, especially now that we know that it is a little bit more serious than originally thought. Even after the game, he basically came out and said, like, this is something that I've never felt before. We know how the Cowboys season has gone, definitely not as planned for them. And I think, as far as the Cowboys go, Jerry Jones may be looking for a guy like Shadur Sanders coming up in the NFL draft or something like that to
a little father-son combo with the
exactly. Something to that extent. Because obviously, the Cowboys season is starting to take a major dive at this point. And I don't know necessarily if they're going to be able to make that turnaround with who's their Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush?
Yes.
I don't know, man. Cooper Rush didn't look bad in 2022
when he
came in, and Dak Prescott looks like shit. So we'll see. But yeah, I think it's going to be several weeks until we see Prescott on the field. Speaking with the Cowboys, Micah Parsons, we talked about him past couple weeks, high ankle sprain. He's about 6 weeks out, almost 7 now. So he's probable to play. I'm surprised he hasn't came on the field earlier. So I do expect him to be back.
Business decisions.
Yeah, might be, man. Might be, but they've got a big game against the Eagles coming up. So, they'll take all the help they can get. We'll see about guys like Deron Bland, guys like Trayvon Diggs and things like that, if they can get a little bit healthier. But it looks like Micah Parsons, Jordan Mailata's still out. So if they can get some pressure on Hurts, even though he's looked great, we'll see about A.J. Brown, which sticking with that game. Let's talk A.J. Brown, man. Obviously, huge wide receiver, not only in fantasy, but just to that team success in general. Thankfully, got some good news off the MRI, basically. No structural damage from what they're saying. Great news. Call him day-to-day there. People were thinking maybe mild MCL, something to that effect. But what are we thinking there? It's a bit tough. We haven't had an actual diagnosis, but obviously good news with the clean MRI. Well, what's your gut telling you? Think he suits up this week, or where are we at?
Yeah, I think A.J. Brown will try to give it a go, especially in that division matchup against the Cowgirls. If there's really no structural damage, that leads me to believe there's something, contusion related or something fairly minor going on in that knee. If there's no structural damage, there's very little risk of continuing to make things worse. So I would expect him to at least try to suit up, if not have a pretty good day against the Cowgirls.
Yeah, sounds like a pain tolerance issue, as you mentioned with the contusion. Great point there. Another big play wide receiver that is in a very similar boat. Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Drake London dealing with a hip pointer injury. Basically, this is a bruise to your hip bone. He landed on his hip bone hard as fuck on that touchdown, and it hurt. So he was out of the game. So looking at this week, again, another pain tolerance injury. Typically a 1 to 2 week recovery timeline. Where are you at with London?
Yeah, I think kind of the same boat. I think, he'll probably end up suiting up against the Saints this weekend. And especially the Falcons, although I haven't been super high on them for most of the season, they have started to look pretty good offensively. Kirk Cousins has all kinds of time back there. Him and Drake London have developed some chemistry together. And, I think it's one of those, again, division matchups where kind of all hands on deck.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I agree. I think that both those guys have a really good shot to kind of, hopefully we'll see if they wake the Warrior list and they can play through a little bit of pain there. All right.
Exactly
some
right.
quicker updates there. We got Caleb Williams. Looks like he just rolled his ankle. Similar to Patrick Mahomes actually last week.
Mm-hmm.
He should be good to go. He sucks.
Sure.
I mean, I'm going to keep fading him. There's a reason
No
I
doubt.
picked him to miss the playoffs. There's a reason that he cashed one of my locks against
Yep.
the fucking Arizona Cardinals, man. Let me just tell you, remember what we were talking about? They're scrappy, man. They burned me 2 weeks in a row, so I said, fuck it. I'm buying in, especially against the bad Bears team. And shout out to Kyler, man. I took both some Rams and some Cardinals NFC West division when I was talking about it a couple weeks ago, because I'm still not bought in on those 49ers. So I think we can get some good
that division's completely up in the air. Like you said, I mean, basically all those teams are kind of neck and neck. And the Cardinals have been looking pretty good over the last few weeks.
Number 1 seed right now, man. Number 1 seed. So we will see. Speaking of those 49ers, man, he's back. He's back. Christian McCaffrey. What do we say? We've been saying it for multiple weeks. Week 10 after the bye is when to expect him back. So if you've been paying attention, this isn't a surprise. Makes sense. Look, we're not rocket scientists. We're just scientists.
Practice, right?
Off the bye week, he's returned to practice. They activated his 21-day window. He's tracking a play this week, and I'm right. I mean, I will be on him. I have him in fantasy.
Yeah.
He's been collecting a shit ton of dust in the IR spot. I will be loading him up full go, sending him out there because this is an injury where, I think when he's out there, he'll be okay. But I think after the game is when we can deal with some things where things start to flare up a little bit. We don't know how long he's going to last. So I'm going to squeeze this Christian McCaffrey juice out for as much as I can. Where are you at with CMC?
No, I completely agree. Especially with tendinopathies, tendonitis kind of things. A lot of times once we get those muscles, once we get those tendons warmed up, they're okay for a little while. It's that, 3 or 4 hours afterwards where things really start setting in terms of inflammation and stuff. So I think going into this game, the 49ers have definitely missed him as a threat coming out as a receiver. Garendo's had a nice run. Jordan Mason's had a nice run, especially earlier on in the season, but that offense doesn't look the same as it did last year, as it did before. With Christian McCaffrey. So I'm with you as far as Christian McCaffrey, trying to ride him as much as we can while he will be in there. But it might end up being like one of those things, 4, 5, 6 years ago with like a Todd Gurley kind of a thing, dealing with his knee arthritis. It's a pain in the ass to deal with, but you can still play through it. How long he'll be available, time will tell.
Yeah, exactly. But I think this week when he does come back, first week is probably the best. Best you might get him. So you definitely want to take advantage.
Yep.
All right. We're going to bounce around a little more before we move on. So again, if you have specific guys you have questions on that we have not touched on, now's your chance, folks.
Hey,
all right. Zach Moss.
Yeah. Yes. That's the one I was either going to go there or Olave, and we can just kind of talk about both those guys.
We'll go both, but let's go Moss first here. Look, folks, whenever someone has a neck injury and they have to get second opinions and go to specialists, not a good thing. So he's ruled out indefinitely. We saw Chris Carson dealing with a little bit of some vertebrae, some spinal. He had a spinal fusion. So, when those nerves start to act up in the neck and your cervical spine, not a good thing. So he's shut down indefinitely, which tells me this could be not only season threatening, but career threatening. Yep. Where are you at with Zach Moss?
Yeah, I think it's the Chase Brown show at this point down there in Cincinnati. Like you said, anytime we start to hear neck things, getting second opinions, automatically we start thinking, hey, is there something structurally wrong here that's compressing on nerves that are affecting other muscles going down his shoulders, down his arms? And yeah, I think it's kind of a scary thing. Will he be able to bounce back? Potentially, but anytime we hear neck things, it's definitely a little bit more alarming. I mean, Peyton Manning was definitely not the same after his numerous neck surgeries. So
Good point. That's a good point with the Peyton Manning poll. All right, a couple more guys we're going to touch on, and then we're going to breeze through some. So, CeeDee Lamb dealing with an AC sprain, which, a acromioclavicular joint gets jammed up there. You either land on it or you land on your arm outstretched. Typically more of a pain tolerance thing if it's minor, which it sounds like it is day to day. Typically shoot him up with a little bit of an injection and he can move it around and he can kind of get going there. So we'll see how he progresses. But, where are you at with CD? You calling him? You think he's got a decent chance. What about you?
I would agree. I think CeeDee Lamb, again, kind of soups up in that division matchup with AC joint sprains, positions like running back, wide receivers. I'm not nearly as cautious with those guys as I would with somebody like a quarterback that has to completely operate through their shoulders, right? I mean, from the AC joint, it's mostly a pain tolerance thing. Anytime you go overhead to catch a ball, it may hurt a little bit, but for the most part, wide receivers are around chest level and running with their arms, below their shoulders. So, in general, it shouldn't bother CeeDee Lamb a ton. We've seen other guys like Keenan Allen with more major AC joint related issues. In this case, it sounds pretty minor. Sounds a lot better than what they expected. So I expect him to suit up next week.
Yeah. Yep. There we go. And then Chris Olave. This is a tough one, man. Picked up another concussion.
It's a scary one.
He picked up, I think this is his 5th or 6th concussion since his college days at the Ohio State. Man, yeah, all right, fucking calm down over there, okay? You beat Penn State, whoop-de-fucking do. But
dominated Penn State.
He got knocked out of this game, and it's just, he just got off. He 2 weeks ago, he was in concussion protocol. Then the game he returned, he had to go get cleared by concussion protocol. Now he got knocked out, had to get stretchered off, taken to the hospital. Thankfully, all extremities moving, somewhat good to go, right? I mean, obviously, I think it's pretty safe to call him doubtful for this week. But
for sure.
If you're Chris Olave, like, how concerned are you for him potentially shutting it down for the year?
Yeah, I was kind of going to go that way, especially as we were talking earlier. The Saints, for whatever reason, over the past 5 or 6 weeks, have turned into one of the biggest dumpster fires in the NFL, and they're one of those 2-6, 2-7 teams that really don't have much of an outlook for the playoffs for the rest of the season here. We've seen concussion symptoms linger. He's had multiple within a period of 3 or 4 weeks. I would not be surprised if Chris Olave almost gets that Tua kind of treatment here where, let's give him a few weeks. Let's give him a month to kind of assess where he's at. And at that point, if the Saints are, 3-9, 3-10, what's the point, right? There may be some situation where he does come back for the last 5 or 6 games, but I would not be surprised if he misses 2-3 games over the next few weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's quite the Tua situation, but it's pretty damn close. All right, let's breeze through a couple guys and let's keep it rolling here. A couple guys ruled out for the season for Tennessee. Center Lloyd Cushenberry with an Achilles tear and safety Quandre Diggs with a Liz Frank injury. Both those guys going to be out for the year. Tight end Eric All for the Bengals also ruled out for the year. You've got some guys like Darnell Wright, offensive lineman for the Chicago Bears, banged up with his MCL. They've got some defensive backs, Jalen Johnson, Terrell Smith. I highlight those because there's already positions that they are down a couple guys. Yeah. Raiders, 3 of their 5 starting offensive linemen went out. Right tackle George Fant, right tackle position for the Seattle Seahawks has been a rotating door. They finally got Fant back.
Carousel
He's just out, and then it's been huge. I mean, Geno has no time, and he really is looking like a shell of himself. Some things to note for this Thursday night matchup: Isaiah Likely did not practice with a hamstring, and you still have T. Higgins not practicing, as well as Orlando Brown tackle there. So we'll get much more into that on Thursday, but just some things to keep on your radar, folks. All right, let's move this along here. We are going to talk about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. That's right, Underdog Fantasy. They've got their pick'em selections where they've got NFL, college football, college basketball tip-off night, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, all you could want. Look, they've got all boosts. Just because Boostober is over does not mean the boosts are. They're playing it all the time. So sign up with promo code SGPNDoc to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPNDoc. All right, let's talk about our Warriors and our Wussies from NFL Week 9. Would you like to bring some optimism or just shit on somebody?
Let me bring some optimism this week. After my shitty weekend, I need some love. I need to get in on the Warrior train. So Tony Pollard didn't practice hardly at all last week and came on the field and really just dominated. Was the Titans offense. Carried the ball 28 times for 128 yards, had 3 catches out of the backfield for 26 yards. For some reason, somehow, he didn't find the end zone, but he toted the rock 31 times throughout the game. And like I said, he basically was the Tennessee offense on Sunday. So give us Tony Pollard as the Warrior of Week 9.
Congratulations, Mr. Tony Pollard, for an esteemed honor. And Jalen Waddle, what the fuck, man? Jalen Waddle, 2 catches, 1 touchdown.
That's one of the strangest stat lines I've ever seen.
Receiving yards, -4. What are we doing, folks? Look, thankfully, I was not on this beat, but if you had Tua Tagovailoa over passing yards and you were 11 yards in the clear and this motherfucker runs backwards 24 yards, this type of shit is why people think the NFL is rigged. I personally do not. Football is football, baby. Crazy shit happens. But what are you doing? There was why are you just running straight backwards with no potential for a pitch and then to just get dragged down by a guy's pinky finger and it's just, come on, Jalen Waddle. What are you doing, man? Yep. I mean, it makes sense that you guys lost on a 61-yard field goal. That's what you get when you do dumb shit like that. So Jalen Waddle, congratulations. You are the Degen Docs official Wussy of the week. All right, let's keep it with some fantasy, and let's talk waiver wire targets. I'll lead us off here. Matthew Stafford, a guy we told you about last week, and boom, did you see that bomb in overtime to my boy Demarcus Robinson, former Gator, one-handed grab to cash the 4-0 lock of the week. Man, he's going against a Miami Dolphins team that's got torn up by both Josh Allen and Kyler Murray the past 2 weeks. Assuming Puka Nacua doesn't throw another punch at anybody, he should have a full, healthy roster of wide receivers there. So we like Stafford.
So stupid.
We also like Tyler Algier, Atlanta Falcons running back. New Orleans Saints, we talked about it. I mean, the amount of Saints players I saw tweeting about this game, and, you have Michael Thomas and Inch Sharman, ultra soft ass, talking about this game, getting the coach fired. I don't think they rally around. I think they lie down and are ready to die. And Tyler Algier is the bowling ball ready to take advantage of a weak-minded defense. And then Chargers wide receiver Quentin Johnson. I'm bought in. I'm sold. I don't know what the hell Harborough did to him. I know he told him, hey, I want you to be the wide receiver who torched us in the semifinal game in the playoffs when it was at TCU. But, man, he's looked really good. And Herbert's got a cannon, and he's finally got someone who can run under it and catch it. So give me Quentin Johnson against the Tennessee Titans team. Snead's been out of the lineup, and then no Quandre Diggs. That team's falling apart as well. Why don't you round it out there?
Let's do it. So Nick Westbrook-Akine, somebody that probably isn't on most people's radars, going up against the Philadelphia Eagles this week.
He's going up against the Chargers.
Oh, the Chargers. You're right. Sorry. My bad. Anyways, Westbrook-Akine is now the Titans' number 2 wide receiver. In the past 4 weeks, he has 4 touchdowns. He scored in every single week. Like I said, outside of Tony Pollard, there really isn't much else going on for the Titans offense. Westbrook-Akine has kind of been that number 1 option because Calvin Ridley hasn't done a whole lot. So he might be a good pickup option. And then Taysom Hill had a pretty good game this past weekend. I expect him to do that again. He really has had a pretty good run against the Atlanta Falcons. Last time they played, he did rush for 2 touchdowns. So you may want to look Taysom Hill's way as well for waivers.
Yeah, Hill, the anytime touchdown we gave out last week did come through. So thank you.
Yeah,
Mr.
especially, at the tight end market, we have some pretty good tight ends sitting this week. We didn't really go over the buys for this upcoming week, but we got the Cleveland Browns. So Njoku will be out. Tucker Kraft with Green Bay is going to be out. Brock Bowers over there in Las Vegas. The Raiders are on bye, as well as the Seattle Seahawks. So the Browns, Packers, Seahawks, and Raiders are all on bye going into week 10. A lot of dudes will be sitting out this
Great
week.
pool. Also, I will throw out Mike Gesicki. The 2 games that T. Higgins has not played, he's had a monster stat line. So they're going up against Baltimore and their porous pass defense on Thursday. So Mike Gesicki is another guy you might want to keep in the back of your mind. All right, folks. Look, we are going to wrap it out with our early line locks. But before we do that, let me tell you about BetUS. Yes, BetUS. Bet with the best over at BetUS. Best in the business for 30 years. They are giving out lightning fast payouts with their cryptocurrency. U.S. players always welcome. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. Best U.S., America's favorite source book. Also, let's tell you about our friends over at Rhythm. That's right. We're talking models, folk. We're talking Rhythm. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money line spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model or copy one of the top performing models. Everybody wants to build their own model. Get your mind out of the gutter. We are not talking AI. Well, we are talking AI. We're not talking shit. We're not talking robots. We're talking, AI. Less interactive form of AI.
They're artificial robots.
Right.
But we're also talking about models, and models
we're talking
are
about
nice.
Ones where you don't have to spend money and you get to make money over on Rhythm. So claim your 7-day free trial type today by going to sportsgamepodcast.com.
So you don't have to spend money on this model? Okay, I like that. That's
good.
When
you get a 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamepodcast.com.
I don't know what you're learning up there in West Point, but anyway.
Listen. You don't have to spend money because you get a 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamepodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamepodcast.com/RITHMM. All right. If this guy will stop ruining our ad reads, maybe we'll get this show wrapped up so you can see us cash some bets. My friend, what do you like? What have you already put your hard-earned money on for the NFL Week 10 slate?
Yeah, so give me the Falcons as 3-point favorites up against the Saints. I've already kind of highlighted how the Saints have just gone downhill. Yes, they did fire their coach. A lot of times we will see that bump in morale the week after a coach firing. I don't see that happening with this New Orleans Saints team. They still have all kinds of dudes out, and they just keep going downhill. The Chargers have started to become on my radar a little bit more as well. Going up against the Titans, they are 7.5-point favorites, but giving the Chargers at home. And then the Buffalo Bills rolling into Indy as 4-point favorites. Give me them as well.
I love it. All right. On my side of the fence, I know I said I wasn't going to do it, folks, but by God, I'm doing it. New York Giants -5 in Germany, taking on the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers coming off a win. That's not going to happen a lot this season. Bryce Young probably going to get the start. Giants, despite a terrible quarterback, actually not a bad roster. I think for next year, it leaves me some optimism. I think Tyrone Tracy, Malik Neighbors are able to get loose a little bit. So give me the Giants -5 there, laying 5 in Germany. Pittsburgh Steelers going back to the good old well there, money line +114 right now against Washington Commanders. Yeah, Jaden Daniels has looked great. But I think if you're able to stop the run and you can contain him with a good pass rush, I really like the Steelers' chances there.
Mike Tomlin off a bye. Mike Tomlin off a bye is a good pull.
Mike Tomlin off a bye, baby. And then going all the way over to next Monday night, Los Angeles Rams against the Miami Dolphins, over 50.5. This number is only going to explode. 2 offensives that are pretty good and 2 defenses not so great. Matthew Stafford, Tua, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, Kyron Williams. Sounds like an offensive explosion to me. So get on those numbers now. Get all that in. All right, my friend. This game's kicked off, so we got to get these people out of here. And the whiskey's done for some of us that are partaking in the festivities.
Yeah, so my tea's been gone too.
Oh, your fucking tea. Poor little baby. So everybody wish Derek to get well so he can stop being a bitch for Thursday's episode. Do you have anything to tell the good people before you get out of here?
No, I mean, other than to share the podcast, give us the 5-star rating and review, share it to a coworker, a friend, your grandma, even your dog. I don't really care. Tell them how awesome the podcast is. Follow us on X, YouTube, Instagram, all those things. We greatly appreciate all the love and support.
Yes, and make sure, give us this episode extra love for Derek being a warrior and fighting through this episode with his teensy weensy little cold. All right, folks, you know what they say. A lock a day keeps the bookie away. And here at the Degen Docs, we've got your prescription. All right, folks, let's go points. Let's go over. And we will see you on Thursday night back here live, 7:15 Eastern time, to break down and get much more into the betting streaks for NFL Week 10. From us here at the Degen Docs, we are out of here. What's up, Degens? Doc here. As a proud member of the U.S. Army and a lover of football, sometimes those two things cross over on here. But as you probably already know, as a lowly captain, these are just my opinions. These are not opinions that are representative of the entire DoD or the U.S. Army. The same thing goes for any references to any commercial products or hyperlinks. Again, that does not constitute an endorsement from the DoD or the Army.